Auburn is renegotiating NIL contracts to win long-term. This is the new way for college football.
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. We are brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. If you want to stay in on the NFL action all season long, head over to FanDuel and place your live NFL bets all the way through the playoffs. We're going to be discussing why overpaying with NIL contracts, how they're structured, is the death knell of any given college football program, SEC, Big Ten, G6, it does not matter. That is going to be utilized throughout the show, but we're really going to touch on it at the end to summarize everything that I'm going to talk about. How does it work? What are the pitfalls? That's some of the things that we have to dive into, and it gets touchy. This is not, repeat, not a foolproof plan, but it's still the best option. And overall, I want to use Auburn, along with a little bit of Florida State, and a few other schools to define how teams are restructuring contracts to make sure they get the most bang for their NIL dollar. And to be honest, it's the only way you're going to win long-term, no matter who you are. So let's dive right in with that. Here is my take. Teams that just overpay to get players on their roster and then just let those contracts go on and those players don't produce, those will also be the teams that underachieve, and those will be the coaches that get fired. That's why Auburn and many other schools, they're going through this, looking at it with a fine-tooth comb. Hey, out of high school, we thought you were great. Out of junior college ranks, we thought you were tremendous. As a portal prospect, you were top of the board. But for whatever reason, off the field actions or non-actions, and maybe it's just something about on-field production, you don't fit the new scheme. Alex Golesh going to Auburn, we're going to talk about him in a second. It could be something with that. The scheme that he's running, offensively, defensively, special teams, doesn't fit somebody, whatever it may be. The new NIL deals that are going out, new restructuring, that's a key word. You hear in the NFL all the time. It's come to college football. Teams that do it the best are the teams that will win the most. Here's my point. I've got an insane list of players that I know quite a bit about that Auburn has recruited. I've scouted many of these kids, covered some of them. I don't know every player that they have seen hit the portal, and not all of them for the same reasons, but this is a list based with stats and everything else that I have here that can be used as a microcosm across college football. Auburn was 5-7 this year with a bunch of guys on the roster that have a chance to play in the NFL. That's not good. And it's also why Hugh Freeze is no longer the head coach of the Auburn Tigers. In comes Alex Golesh from USF, and immediately see guys going to portal. I'm even texting some of my friends, some that are associated with Auburn, some that aren't. I'm like, what's going on here? These are pretty good players. Then it dawned on me this morning, and I sent a message to a buddy of mine who's literally in the NIL space. And he said, did they cut this guy? He's talking about Robert Woodyard, the talented linebacker that earned some all-conference honors in the Southeastern Conference. And it just dawned on me. It's not that they're not good. It's can we win? This is still a team sport. More than any other in American sport, and probably the world. If it's not right overall for the team, it may not be that you don't want the player, but to reach your goals, you can't pay the player that many dollars. It's business. College football is a flat-out business, and it is no more proven than with right now with these contracts. January 2nd, the portal opens. It's not just Auburn either. I'm, again, microcosm here. This is very easy to see. They're looking for the long term. Is it going to hurt them in 2026? There's a chance of it. They're going to bring in some guys from USF and other places. We'll get into that in a minute. But there's a chance for short-term loss. But if you structure your contracts right, especially with the younger guys, and set a standard, you can move yourself up into what Georgia's done, Notre Dame's done, Clemson and other schools. They don't overpay guys at those programs. By and large, those programs win every year. Ohio State will make a different move every now and then, but by and large, they don't either. Last year, they overspent because they thought it was their year to win it. Okay, that's fine. But you see the teams that make the Final Four, that make the right decisions, they're doing that. And there's no better example than Indiana. They got rid of some of the guys when Signetti got there, and they brought in kids from the G6, the FCS, etc., because they'd seen them play. They were proven, and they paid them accordingly. You still got to pay when they earn it. But those guys that came in with high contracts, high incentives, whatever it may be, they're going bye-bye at the programs that are winning. And that's the microcosm. So let's talk about this from a player perspective. Here are some of the guys. Again, I'm just going to use Auburn and a few stats. Jay Crawford is in the portal. There's no way they didn't want him on the roster. None. He wants to win, and this may be as much, if not more, Crawford wanting to win somewhere right now. He was a starter for Auburn as a freshman and sophomore. He's a dude. He'll play in the NFL. He had a grand total of 580 snaps this year. Only 33 passes per Pro Football Focus came his way. 20 of them were completed. A lot of them were screens. 10.5 yards per reception. He's pretty normal in that regard. But 33 targets when you're a prime corner that can play against any guy. You could be a slot. He could be outside. He could be the boundary, whatever you want. Crawford could play about anything. Guys like that, you don't let walk unless there's something wrong there. Maybe it's just Crawford, but again, like a lot of Auburn fans and my buddy Zach Blackerby in particular are freaking out over it. I don't think that it's good news, and it certainly reduces what they're going to do next year, but you got to set that standard. And it's nothing personal against Crawford. Again, he's going to be an NFL player, but we're trying to win long term. It's no different than what Georgia does. They let Damon Wilson walk last year. There are a lot of different players. Schools don't want to see leave, but again, it's the totality. It's the team first. Here are a couple other examples. Kay and Lee, kid I knew from the high school ranks up in the Atlanta area. He was only targeted 41 times. He's a guy that gave up 12.1 yards per reception. He's been a starter since part of his freshman year. Another guy that's walking. Really good player. But are you trying to win a title next year? Is it realistic? Probably not. Even if they get Byron Brown from USF, is Auburn going to the national championship game in 2026? I highly doubt that. They could have maybe made the playoff if everything hit just right, and I thought there was a chance of that with Brown. He's really good. But if you're going to do it long term, okay, you'll take a step back in 26, and I think some other programs are going that route. Robert Woodyard, he was the last guy that I saw enter, and that's when I had this epiphany about what's going on. He was an all-conference guy. Auburn let him walk. Linebacker, though, here's where it gets really interesting. Linebacker is, in my opinion, the least valuable position on the gridiron. You can't pay every guy top dollar for his position and win. It's no different in the National Football League. You'll see your favorite team, somebody's leaving, going across the screen on the nightly news, hey, so-and-so's leaving the Seahawks or the Chargers or whatever team you root for. Same thing. It's not that they don't want the player. Can we win with that contract and that player on our roster? Here are a couple of the other guys. Damari Alston. He was a guy that was a good running back at Auburn. He's gone. Ashton Daniels. He had a really good stretch down the end of the season for Auburn. Quarterback. He's gone. Defensive line, man. Antonio Coleman. Malik Blockton, he played a bunch. Jamonte Waller, he was a kid that had a big contract out of high school, but hadn't produced yet. He's gone. Amaris Williams, he's a guy that's produced. He was next up. They let him go. Those are really good signs that they're trying to win for the long term. Again, a lot of schools are doing this. Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, Horatio Fields, three talented receivers, all helped Auburn this year. There's a little bit of, we're trying to take some guys, they're going to fit the scheme differently. Okay, but part of this is money. Hollis Davidson, promising young tight end. Didn't play last year, been banged up. He's gone. DeAndre Carter, Favor Edwin, a couple young offensive linemen, talented players, they're gone. You need linemen. But if it's not the right structure, again, team first, teams are going to cut bait. So what are the pitfalls with this? This is where my expertise really comes in because I've dealt with this directly and even this week. Where you recruit from, the agents, the 7-on-7 coaches, the high school coaches, the recruiting hotbeds, all of that. We're going to talk about it from different perspectives, not just Auburn, but Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Ohio State, Indiana, you name it. We're going to look at that from a different perspective. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the football game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. Live spreads, they're going to change as the game goes along. So are money lines. They do it instantly. In fact, player props are also going to change. Like a quarterback gets really hot, has 3 touchdowns in the first half. Certainly that line is going to change. And if you just want to look at the overall point spreads, here's an interesting one I was just looking at on FanDuel. The Lions are 7.5-point favorites against Minnesota this weekend. Are they really going to come out fired up after not playing well this last weekend? That's an interesting one too. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your live NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Truly appreciate you stopping in and making this a part of your routine. I love doing this, and I'm glad that you're here. And if you want to take it to the next level, check out the Everydayer Club, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer. You can go through there and find whatever team or whatever you want. But if you want the link for this show, it's down in the description, and you will get access to all your podcasts on the go, whether you use Spotify, Apple, or any other audio platform. No ads. $5 a month or $50 a year. We have a Discord you can check out. I just posted on the national Discord board. That's going to be my place. Having a lot of fun with that, talking about games being scheduled, the college football playoff, transfer portal, and everything else. There's all kinds of different things you can check out. Have fun with it. Check out the Everydayer Club with Locked On Podcast. Let's get into the pitfalls here. What can go wrong with cutting or restructuring, whatever way you want to define it? I personally call it restructuring. It's the connections. This is where it's very sensitive. Some of the guys that Auburn has seen walk, some of the guys at Florida seen walks, definitely some of the guys at Florida State's seen walk. I run the Locked On Seminoles pod. There's some touchy nature to this. You can tell that they're not going to overpay. Heck, Florida State even doesn't have a GM right now and guys are walking. So maybe it's part of it is the GM factor, but you still have to talk about contracts and have your exit interviews with every player. That's been going on for 100 years. Hey, where are you as a player? Where are you academically, socially? And now the NIL, that's all a part of it. And every one of those players from each of those schools, let's talk about Florida State. They just saw their backup quarterback walk out the door. They've only got 2 guys for the roster next year. One of them's going to be a true freshman. You're restructuring that money for somebody else that you think is going to fit your system or benefit your program next year, possibly long-term. Florida State needs to win next year, or else that staff's in even more trouble. But they got to look at it from long-term. They put too much money into the portal. That's Florida State's problem. Are they reshaping this a little bit and heading towards the high school ranks? That's one way you can do it. And they've hurt themselves there. It's the opposite of what Auburn's done, honestly. Florida State has overstepped their bounds. So they're trying to backtrack, rebuild some of that in different spots around the South. And they've done a better job lately. But if you cut certain guys from certain schools, even if it's just 1 or 2, does that hurt you? Yes. This is the part there's no friendly. It could be Georgia. It could be Notre Dame. It could be Texas. The bluest of blue bloods. It does not matter. Certain players from certain programs, not just high school, 7-on-7, or they work with a certain trainer, like it or not, that can really hurt your program. I know this firsthand. I'm in that world. I talk to trainers. I talk to 7-on-7 coaches, recruits, parents. It's very sensitive. It's very political. So if there's a program within your state, whatever school you root for, and that school cuts bait with a player, whether it's for a good reason or not, if that trainer or that high school coach doesn't like it, yeah, it can hurt you. There's nothing you can do about it. You can try to mend fences. You can try to do some of that. It's going to happen to every single program. That's the way of it. In the NFL, you don't care because you're drafting players for the most part. For the most part, you still got to deal with agents and all that, but it's not the same as recruiting guys. This takes on a whole new level. And with this starting, I don't know how it's going to go. We need to see some teams kind of go through it for a couple of years and then report back on it. It's very sensitive what myself or even a Chad Simmons or anybody else, Greg Biggins or anybody else could report, but it's definitely a part of this process. There are going to be schools that cut bait with a guy, and it's not anything personal. But if they did not give the money that the agent or the parent or his old high school coach at a prominent program agrees with, They can blackball you. It happens full that out. And it's going to happen more as the money rises. That is the nature of human beings. They hold grudges. And again, this is 100% political. Is it fair? Not really. But once money's involved, anything can change. Is Auburn or Florida State or Florida or Ohio State or Notre Dame, is somebody in this group going to lose a player or lose a contact because of somebody that doesn't make it and they want to renegotiate? Sure. But you got to make that as part of your assessment. It's a part of the algebraic equation. And if it doesn't work out, so be it. It's a part of the risk. There are no guarantees with college football. None. Your roster management is everything. And you have to take the steps necessary, sometimes awkwardly, to get rid of somebody because it's best for them and you. And if they want to walk because they come to you and say, hey, I need another $200K a year, and you're like, you're not worth it. Even if he's at the top program, it's just got to be that way. So I expect, and again, back to the beginning, I expect this a lot moving forward based on talking to my buddy this morning. He's the one that kind of got me over the hump on what's going on here. They're not going to pay. They're not going to overpay. Some agents got guys deals that were too good. The schools bought in. They were really trying to excite their fan base, like Florida, completely overpaid for some guys. There are a lot of guys walking. There are going to be a few more too. Hint to Gators fans. That's just the way it is. You take one step back, and the goal is to take about 3 steps forward the year after. Florida and Auburn, ironically, they play, I think it's their first SEC game against each other. UF goes to Auburn late September, early October. That game is going to be a microcosm. You got the two new head coaches, John Summerall at UF, who a lot of people thought was going to end up at Auburn. And then Alex Golesh, the old USF coach, he's headed up to Auburn. Now he's the head man. They're going to battle it. And they could both have rosters that are totally different than what I thought even 4 or 5 days ago. They're not overpaying any longer. And they're a microcosm across. Whichever school that you root for or you hate, go look at it. Pull up 24/7. Pull up any site that you want that will give you a list. Maybe it's your local newspaper. It doesn't matter. If you know that team or at least something of it, you're going to go through and see 3 or 4 guys. You're like, a little surprised by that one. Money is a major reason why. Teams have become more savvy. They're not overpaying. They're not giving upfront money. Those are some problems. Here are a couple other things that I think really need to be looked at. And I wrote down a few of these notes earlier. Look at it this way. If you want to earn the upfront money and if you really want to earn the incentives, these are some of the things that I've been told you're going to have to do. How you act off the field academically, socially, doing philanthropy, going around the boosters and being a person that represents their favorite place in the manner that they want. All those little things, it shouldn't be much to ask anyway. You're at school, you should go to class, things like that. You want to improve your opportunity, right there is how you do it. Secondarily, and this is a big one, just being accountable with how you practice. Just because you're super talented doesn't mean the guy you're competing against on your roster, let alone the one you're going to be competing against across the line of scrimmage on a fall Saturday. That's very important. You need to do it the way the coaches say. You want to get those bonuses, you want to stay on the roster, do it the way the coaches said, not the way your agent said. Not the way your dad or your mom or your aunt said. Follow the rules. And finally, just be a good person in general when you're dealing with media, when you're dealing with people at your school, all those things, they will weigh heavily in your favor, and you'll see more guys get the benefit of the doubt than not. Of course, it still comes down to dollars and cents, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But not overpaying, that's really the theme here, and it's about restructuring. The teams that don't do it are going to be the ones that lose. Long term. Again, I think Auburn, Florida to a certain degree, I need to see a little bit more from them first. Find out who the quarterbacks are going to be. I think both of them could be 6-6 football teams next year, and it's for the best. Now, the fans of those schools aren't going to like hearing that, but if you don't change your roster NIL and set a standard and get people that want to be their team first, you have no chance in the world to end up making it to the playoff and being a consistent team that can make a run. It's one thing to make it and get bounced. It's another to make it and have the structure all around to work. Look at Texas Tech. That's a great example. Let's use that. When was the last time you said to yourself, Texas Tech, man, they don't look like they're a team. They don't look like they want to play together. They don't look like they're following the directive of their coaches. That staff has done a tremendous job this year, despite flat out going out and buying some guys to fill out the end pieces of the roster, especially D-line. But they built a lot of those kids to the high school ranks the way you should. And then they filled in gaps with really top-end transfer portal guys. But they got it to blend. Those guys bought in, even though they got paid, or they wouldn't be in the playoff. They wouldn't be a team that got a bye. That's what everybody's trying to get to that didn't make the playoff or already got beat. So with that, I'm going to jump in the chat here to see what we got. Let's see. The Hammer 106. Do you think Chambliss gets another year? Man, that is a great question. I hope he does. Let me explain this for people that don't know. Trinidad Chambliss, the quarterback at Ole Miss, that's one of the greatest stories I've ever seen. He was at Ferris State, and you're probably like, well, where the hell is Ferris State? I'm from the Midwest, and I knew where it was, but most people probably don't. It's in the state of Michigan. It's D2, if I remember right. It's not even FCS. I believe it's D2. Played 3 years. But if Diego Pavia, the quarterback that was at Vanderbilt, he played JUCO, I believe, 2 years. Then he went to New Mexico State. Then he went to Vandy. If he can get an extra year for JUCO, they got the rule change. If you play JUCO, you get an extra year. And Pavia, for the record, is trying to get it to be another one from what I've heard. If he gets one, what's the difference between JUCO and Division II if somebody's going to give you a scholarship? My theory is college is supposed to help people prosper and better their lives, okay? There are a lot of ways you can do that. Relationships, who you meet. Do you think that his relationships are going to go up if he stays at Ole Miss or transfers somewhere else to play football? Absolutely. It's helping that young man, and it's going to help a roster somewhere, whether it's Ole Miss or not. He should absolutely be that guy. Let's give Trinidad Chambliss a shot. But that's the logical thing here. Now, has he played 4 years? Yes, he has. But so is Diego Pavia. JUCO and Division II, like JUCO is actually harder. There's more talent at the JUCO level than there is Division II, especially some of the schools like in Mississippi and Kansas. They're really good. If you're not going to give Trinidad Chambliss the extra year, what are we doing? By the way, thank you, Hammer. That is a tremendous question. I hope they do, but I do not trust the NCAA. I hope you don't either, because that wouldn't be a wise decision. Terry Howie, culture is so critical. Only takes one toxic player to ruin a team. Man, you couldn't have said it better. Terry, you're on the money. There are a lot of teams that are failing right now. And it's not because of the talent. Go look at the roster. Match it up with a little 2-4-7, a little on-3, whatever you want. Take an hour. Put down your 5 to 8 favorite players on any roster you want to go with. Go look at where they were ranked. The majority will be higher ranked players. There'll be like one walk-on that surprised everybody, one JUCO, etc. But 75% or more of them are guys that were ranked high. And they also get that money coming in. Sometimes they get a big head. Sometimes they like to talk a lot in the locker room. Again, I cover Florida State. I do Locked On Seminoles. The 2023 team, they paid a lot of guys out of the portal for whatever reason. And hats off to the staff and everybody. It meshed. They took some of the flameouts from Bama and Georgia the next year. Didn't go very well. 2 wins. Took the wrong quarterback. Not that he was a bad guy. Didn't fit the system. They did anything they could to get talent, but they didn't mesh it well together from schematics. And from what I've heard, from the locker room too. That is the death knell of a program. If your locker room has problems, it's over. Final point on this, and again, thank you, Terry, for the comment. Kirby Smart has let a lot of guys walk, whether it's in recruiting that they could have got, or B, somebody on his roster that left. Culture. He talks about it a lot. Yeah, we got to get talent and this and that. They don't overpay like a lot of other schools. That's why it's a top 5 program pretty much every year. It's smart. If you don't do it that way, chances you winning consistently are very, very low. Who do you think Wayne gets at quarterback if not Chambliss? Oh, man, that's hard to say. There are so many guys in the portal right now that he could win with. Let me give you an example. Colton Joseph is a dude. Fun fact. He's the quarterback at Old Dominion. Now, he didn't throw the ball very well and had like 3 picks against Indiana. I use back 7, does a tremendous job. They messed with his head and they got the ball away. Okay. But he ran for 179 yards against Indiana. He has the highest rushing total individually against the Hoosiers since Cignetti and his crew have been in Bloomington. What do you think he's going to do if he goes to LSU? Just using it as an example. That would be an interesting situation. You know, Lane's going to help a guy throw the ball better. He's proven that numerous times. Colt Joseph's a freak. He ran for 1,007 yards. That's just one example. Sam Levitt can run. Definitely Trinidad if he comes down. Austin Simmons can run some, but he's the other quarterback at Ole Miss that I thought was going to tear up the Southeastern Conference this year. Trinidad beat him out. Again, great story. There are several other options too. Not everybody's in the portal either. Lane is the ultimate backdoor guy. I'm sure he's tampering with somebody or somebody else is for Auburn or for LSU. That's inevitable. The Tigers, like everybody else, are trying to get guys off other people's rosters. How many are there? I don't know. But my first guess, Sam Levitt makes sense because he's mobile and he's got experience. He's made it to the playoff. I'm sure he's interested. And then if Trinidad gets the extra year, that's the other. Those are the two that I'm most curious about. We'll see. There are a few other guys that we can talk about that are really good players that may or may not fit, and the portal's full of them, like a Dylan Raiola. He doesn't run that much, but he's a good player. He passed over 70% this year. Could they make it work? Yeah, they could. Is it the right mix, though? Probably not. And to that end, I just want to bring this up as a point. I'll come back into the chat here in 1 second. Right in the state that Wayne is now in, this is a really important point. If you want to talk about winning, let's talk about Shadray Hurst. In case you didn't see already, he's a guy that is not just good, he's an all-conference, all-American guy. Man, he just got in the portal right before this show started. I didn't have time to really prep it. Matter of fact, I'll pull it up and put it on the screen just to put it in to what's going on. This is a player now. Offensive lineman, like you got to get a quarterback, but this is the only thing I could do to prep, just to throw up his PFF stats. If you're going to spend, you got to spend accordingly. Like I was talking about with Florida, Auburn, etc. Look at his grades down here at the bottom for the pass pro. The only game he struggled was against North Texas, according to PFF, for whatever that's worth. I don't know why they had that game after the Ole Miss game, but he pass blocked at over 85%, according to, again, this is PFF's grades. Take it for what it's worth. 90.5 pass protection. I know he's a guard. Maybe you take somebody that's not Sam Levitt and you take another great guard like this, he's a Tulane, and you end up getting a guy that is ready to help your team right away, and you don't have to take the top end guy. You don't have to. That's one way to look at it. So keep that in mind. It's a possibility, and there are many other ways you can do this. But Florida State, Florida, Auburn, LSU, I don't care the program. You have to put yourself in a position that it's team first. So let me jump back in here to the chat. Stephen, why or how should we really take recruiting serious when in 2 years a good class can be gone like Auburn? Here's why. It's A, the only thing that you have to go by. It's who they signed. And B, you got to remember this coaching change. Different scheme. They're both going to run spread. But to be clear, Alex Golesh's spread, let's use Auburn since you brought that up, that is the wide spread. That is the wide splits, whatever you want to call it. It's the same scheme the Heupel runs at Tennessee, and he was the OC for them. They want straight line speed, and Cam Coleman fits any scheme, and they want guys that are going to fit in that. I think they want Coleman and other guys that know the scheme. They're going to bring in Byron Brown, one or two other guys from there. They're going to roll, but they're going to set that standard again. I think you'll see way less of this next year for Auburn, Florida, and any other team that's trending in the right direction because, quite frankly, it's very simple. Those programs are figuring it out on the fly. Those that don't restructure, that just let some of those contracts continue on, players that aren't doing anything, maybe it's to protect some of those relationships with agents, 7-on-7 teams, whatever. I don't think many will. Somebody probably will. They'll make that mistake. They're probably going to lose. You can't waste your money on that stuff. So I expect to see the players coming in these recruiting classes, like Auburn's 27 class is vital to their success. They're not going to overpay, though. They're setting that standard now. And that's it. But it's a good question, Stephen. Very, very good question. You can call me Nightwolf. Trust in Golesh and Durkin, define, develop, and keep the guys they want and believe in. forget the star ratings. There's a little bit of that. Like star ratings matter. I mean, Georgia's a top 5 recruiting program every year. Ohio State is every year. They matter, but they matter especially in the top like 8 to 10. After about 10, it's very dicey because outside the top 10, those teams don't get the linemen. I'll have my own podcast on that again. I do one every so often. Linemen. You can never have enough. They don't hit at a high rate, but they're very, very important. So with that in mind, I trust what DJ Durkin's doing in general. I didn't know how good he was going to be. Auburn's offense was horrendous this year, and their defense was left out to dry. I think your Tigers will do pretty good if he stays around. It sounds like he's pretty happy there. Same with DeVore. Yep. Let's see. You can call me Nightwolf. This portal exodus will hopefully be the first step to correct NIL issue. Seems like schools are reassessing the NIL that they are paying out. This seems like the start of a market correction, 100%. Market correction is a great way to put that. Absolutely the correct way to put that. Teams overpaid. Well, let me give you an example. There's a player that just entered the portal again from another school, but they committed to a school out of high school a few years ago, was offered $500,000. They paid him. They didn't structure the contract correctly. I'm not making this up. He kept the $500K, didn't even sign with them. Didn't even sign with them. Now that's dirty. That's underhanded. They screwed up the contract. He signed it. They gave him the money before he enrolled. Stupid. Those upfront things, that's the last thing I'll talk about here. Upfront money is going to go way down because of stuff like that. And it's already started. You're going to see more back-end deals, more things you got to do. The number of pages on the contract are going to go up. It's because the kid's taking money and screwing schools over, agents screwing schools over. Yeah, this is a market correction. 100%. You can call me Nightwolf is absolutely correct. If you want to win, guys like that, those agents, they're going to get blackballed in the other direction. That's affirmative. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast a part of your day each and every day. This is a blast for me. Please like and subscribe. I really enjoy bringing you all the latest recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. We're in the middle of it. I'm getting ready to head to New Orleans for a 7-on-7 retreat, down to Orlando for another one, and then the Under Armour camp. There's going to be a lot of shorts and stuff coming up on the YouTube page in the next 2 to 3 weeks. 7-on-7 season's going to explode. We're going to have junior days. This is fun. I hope everybody loves it as much as I do, and we will see you again soon here on the Portal Podcast.